Welcome to HMG Live, a production of HMG Strategy, your global partner helping you reinvent the future of work. Home to the HMG Strategy Top Technology Executives to Watch Awards, and also offering the HMG Marketplace, a fast, easy, safe, and efficient way to connect with the right vendors for your technology needs.
We can't be together at these events, right? But I think the next best thing is being able to connect through the marketplace.
And now, a warm welcome to today's host, Lead Principal and CEO of HMG Strategy, Hunter Muller.
Good afternoon to our friends in Chicago and the tech leaders that are dialing in, zooming in from around the world. Welcome to today's 2020 Chicago CIO Executive Leadership Summit. My team and I are delighted to be here. I was just reminding John Phillips, we started this journey together as a partnership with the Chicago SIM chapter 14 years ago and have had a great seamless relationship. Check out Chicago SIM chapter. I'd like to introduce our partners. So big thanks to Rimini Street. Really appreciate your support. We'll hear more from them here in just a minute. And Zylo, our two partners today that are supporting today's summit and conference. And I'd like to introduce Rick Merrick, President of SIM Chicago. Rick, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Hunter. And hello, everyone. My name, as Hunter mentioned, is Rick Merrick. I'm the CIO of TCS Education System and President of SIM Chicago. HMG and SIM Chicago have been partners for a long time, as Hunter just mentioned. And I'd like to thank Hunter Miller for his continued support of SIM over these many years. I'd also like to thank our sponsors that have continued to invest in these events as we've transitioned to a virtual format. SIM Chicago is the premier IT network in Chicagoland for CIOs and senior IT leaders. Our members are thought leaders from across industries, and through our events, they share new ideas about technology that we can use right now in our careers. Our next event, which is in partnership with the Executives Club of Chicago and AITP, SIM is proud to present the CIO of the Year Award. This will be a virtual event held on October 15. In addition to that, we'll be awarding the CIO Innovator of the Year and the CIO Plus Award. This is the 25th year SIM Chicago has presented the CIO of the Year for Chicagoland. The nominees are very accomplished CIOs. They are listed on our website at simchicago.org. We have Brad Henderson, CEO of P33, as our keynote for the event. P33 was founded to reinvigorate Chicago's tech community and make it a top-tier city for tech companies by 2033. And we are very excited to hear him speak at the event. Again, this will be on October 15th. Visit our website, simchicago.org, to register. Finally, if you're a CIO or report to a CIO, consider joining SIM Chicago. There's never been a more important time to have a strong network that you can rely on. Again, I'd like to thank Hunter Miller and HMG for partnering with SIM on this fantastic event. Thank you.
Great job, Rick. Great to see you, and thanks again for your support and engagement. Next up, we have Mark Taylor. Mark Taylor is the SIM International CEO. Mark, welcome to the program. You're coming in from Austin, right?
From Austin, yeah, right here in the Studio A in the beautiful Northwest Hills of Austin, Texas. Hunter, it's great to see you again.
Oh, thanks for making it. What's going on with SIM International?
Great stuff. Listen, I want to give a shout out to Rick and the leadership team in Chicago. They have built a phenomenal community of technology leaders, and I would just encourage anyone to drop in with what they're doing. It is remarkable. I was at their CIO of the Year event last year, and it was just top notch. So, Rick, thanks for all the work you guys do in leading that team. Nationally, we got just chapters, as you know, 140 chapters across the country in all the major metros. And this fall, we're actually doing a lot of great things across the country, but also as a national organization. It's something that you have partnered with us and is our national celebration for the SIM Foundation, called the SIM VIP Gala, happening November 6th. We've got some great speakers, former the founder of Sun Microsystems, the founder of Square. Both the gentlemen are speaking at the event, auctions, etc. But it's really about celebrating what we do as a national community. We give over $1.5 million a year, as you know, Hunter, into the STEM community to create on-ramps into this digital economy that we have. And anyway, thrilled that you're part of it. Thrilled for the investment that you're making, both here in Chicago and across the SIM community throughout the country. So, Hunter, thanks a million, and thanks what you continue to do to help us. Take care, man.
Thanks, Mark. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Yeah.
Good to see you. And please visit our marketplace. Marketplace is alive and well with great companies like Appian, Ariaka, Awake, Forescout, Darktrace, Globant, Obsidian, PagerDuty, Sonatype, Tanium, and Tessian. Really a cool way to dive right into the leading edge, truly leading edge enterprise scale players and niche players that you can't get in front of basically in your current market. We have this global platform. More on that right here, just a minute. Help us refine the marketplace. What is your organization's specific technology need now? What do you need now mostly? If you could vote, that would be great. And we're going to run a video on the marketplace, I think. Oh, the top tech leaders. Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Later in today's program, HMG Strategy founder and CEO Hunter Muller will proudly recognize and honor global technology executives who matter. These top-tier CIOs, CISOs, and other technology executives have genuinely distinguished themselves in business transformation, digital disruption, innovation, and talent development through even the most difficult circumstances. These awards are not given lightly. They are earned. Recipients join an elite community of forward-thinking global technology executives in the HMG Strategy community. We are delighted to celebrate these exemplary leaders and their teams who have delivered unparalleled value to their organizations, their communities, and our world. Please stay with us for the award ceremony and meet the 2020 Global Technology Executives who matter.
Hopefully you can stay to the end, folks, and we will have that program right at the end of the program. And next up, we have John Rossman. John is the managing partner of Rossman Partners. And we're going to talk about what would Jeff do? I assume that's Jeff Bezos, the Amazon Way, the author of the Amazon Way. This is your second or third Amazon book, John?
It's the third book.
Thank you. Really excited.
Nice to be here. Hello, Chicago.
Really excited to have you on the program. You know, John, I remember back in 08 and 09, you could have all day those summers purchased the Amazon stock for about $25, I think. It was a little book sale, online bookstore. So
yeah, everybody just remembers kind of the last 13 years of stock performance, and what they forget is that there was about a 10-year period where it was essentially flat. That's when I was there. And the thing I took with it was Jeff operated the exact same way, right? Like he stayed with it when everybody was doubting them. They made investments ahead of when they needed to make investments. They prioritized customers and removing friction, and they always had faith in the business, and they always knew incrementally that each order, each unit was profitable, and so they knew it was just a function of kind of scale and stuff. And I think they really should be commended for sticking with it when everybody said it wasn't going to work. And people forget that story, right? Like that's 13 years ago now.
I'm a shareholder. I noticed today it's trading around 3,200. And the street just raised the price target to 4,500 today. What's uniquely different about the culture?
Well, what's uniquely different about the culture? I don't think there's one simple thing. In fact, I tried to capture a bunch of them here. But I think first kind of how they think about the future, right? Like they have this saying around being a day one organization. And what that is, it's just this constant reminder that we're not trying to optimize for today, this quarter, or this year. We're going to invest and invent relative to the future. And we're going to use customer obsession as really the excuse for thinking broader about new customers, new customer needs. And then it's just they believe in entrepreneurs, right? They believe in small teams. They believe in accountability. They believe in builders, and they believe that kind of small teams have more fun. And so they do everything in their power to try not to be a bureaucracy. It's a little bit of a losing battle, but they really do try to create small autonomous teams and businesses within this massive organization. Those are a few of the, but there's a lot more to it.
So John, congratulations on your third book. By the way, folks, everyone attending today will receive a copy. Assuming we have your snail mail or your email, we'll send you a digital copy. You know, what are some of the core lessons learned in the context of the book, John?
Well, I think, you know, the first thing is, as I work with teams and leaders and get to go out and talk, is like, everybody wants innovation. Like, we don't, you know, and everybody believes in the digital journey and everything, but they don't really know kind of like what it takes. And the lesson of Amazon is experimentation, right? And experimentation means failure, right? You try to make those small and affordable, and that's really the agile mindset that goes along. But leaders, like, they really don't understand that. Like, that's counter to everything that management science has essentially learned, and that we pride ourselves on as operators, is kind of always being successful. But that's not the innovator's path. And I think the second thing is just kind of how they measure. They, like, the things that I always think of Amazon as like this Oreo cookie, right? The top down cookie is the leadership principles. Like, this is how they work together. This is how they hold each other accountable. Bottoms up, it's about metrics, right? Like, they instrumentate everything and they put SLAs on everything. And then kind of in between there are all these mechanisms of like different scenarios, how they think about things, how they get things done, right? But it's really kind of the leadership principles and the metrics that are kind of the top and bottom of that Oreo cookie. And that helps keep them oriented towards everyday results. And it's that tension of kind of like everyday results, but we're still working in the future. Everyday results, but we're still working in the future. And when you hear about Amazon being a busy place to work, like a hard place to work from a corporate standpoint, I'm not talking about fulfillment centers or things like that, but from a corporate standpoint, it's because most leaders are both operating something today, and they're spending a lot of time kind of thinking and debating and prioritizing what the future is. But that makes it intoxicating. That's what makes it fun.
So in essence, is that the roadmap for their innovation formula?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, first there's the playing field in which they play on. And, you know, I think the difference is, for some things, they're willing to look at a much longer horizon, right? Bezos on record of saying, just because for some things I can evaluate a 7 to 10 year payback, I'll do things that none of my competitors will ever do, right? And so that sets a different playing field. And then they have this unique culture of writing. And so every proposal, every project, everything, every plan that you put forward, they write out. It's called working backwards. You always feature the customer and what they like, what's the superpower, like what's the real decipherable difference that you're bringing to them. And then they debate these things and they debate them. And it's super hard. It seems like it's slow, but it makes you so much better at first making decisions. What things are we going to resource? What things aren't we going to resource? And then when you start hopefully the experimentation process, you understand your risks, you understand your objectives, you understand your customers so much better. And it helps set up the organization for working better cross-functionally also. And so it's a messy process, right? It's not what I would call kind of super clean or scripted. There's an annual planning process called OP1 that goes around this and everything, but you know, they own it and they lean into it, but that habit of writing is a really powerful habit versus kind of PowerPoint.
So talk a little bit more about the writing the press release today for the next 1 to 3 years. What's that exercise?
Yeah, so, you know, the future press release is kind of one of the tools that you do to exercise, and it really is starting with the end in mind and working backwards. So it's called a future press release. So it's written for a point of time kind of after launch of your new product, your new service, or whatever it is. So like 2 years after launch, once you've attained success. And then you articulate, like, why did customers love it? And what did we do to achieve the success? You probably don't tackle like how you solve for the big issues, but you get the issues on paper in the debate. And then what you try to do is try to give that future press release to one person. And that helps enable kind of probably a pretty difficult cross-enterprise initiative without always having to escalate quite as much. And so both that definition and then that leadership empowerment is kind of the combination that a future press release can do. It's a lightweight announcement of the project, right? So it's good for getting other stakeholders involved, but it's just, one of the things you do. People, I work with teams and organizations, and they try to shortcut it to just a press release. It's like, hey, that's a good start, but you're just starting the training habit here, right? Like we got a lot more work to do.
Hey, John, what is it about guys like Jeff or Elon or the late Steve? Well, specifically Elon and Jeff, what is it about Mars? Why do they want to go to Mars?
Well, I don't really know, but my guess is it really is about long-term thinking, right? And in particular Bezos, right? Like they have this like, hey, there's a finite world, finite resources, and they're thinking long term. And one of the things Bezos has said about Mars and space travel is when he was launching Amazon, he got to ride on this great logistics infrastructure that was already built here in the States. And what he's trying to do is build the logistics infrastructure for space travel so that then other pioneers can ride on those rails like he got to ride on the logistics rails. So, that's probably a pretty optimistic view of kind of like what they're about with Mars, and everything, right? I think there is a little tit for tat going on there, but I think we're all going to win because of that healthy competition and everything. And regrettably, I think the accomplishments in space travel this year really got kind of pushed off the front page of the paper pretty quickly. That was really exciting. And I think it really does kind of bode well to the future and the innovation that we're all going towards.
Excellent. Great answer. Fascinating. Just a minute on your practice. How do you help clients?
Yeah. So I work with clients on kind of either strategy or kind of then planning and execution, a combination of both. But, kind of your primary assignment, like there's always a hidden secondary assignment, right? And that's typically like how we work together, leadership, culture, you'd call it, right? And inserting some of these new mechanisms like, writing and really healthy debate on things, and trying not to lead with titles and tenure and things that don't really matter to solving problems. But I'm set up kind of as an advisor. So I don't lead projects anymore. I don't consult. But I work with a leader, I work with a team over a long period of time on an intermittent basis. And it's a nice option. It's not for everything, but it's a nice option to have an independent voice, somebody who's probably pushing you a little bit to get to clarity and crisp decision-making without kind of a full-time consulting team kind of behind it and stuff. So I like working with teams that are trying to make change happen. And that's what the books are about. That's what I'm about. That's what I try to work with my clients on, is like, making your best future.
Hey, John, thanks for coming on today's summit or today's show and program. I know everyone's going to get a digital copy of your book. So folks, look forward to that. We'll see
Perfect.
you again soon.
Please connect with me if you want to talk, but thank you. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Yeah, how can people reach out to you, John, if they want to connect?
LinkedIn's probably the easiest way, John Rossman, and then we'll connect on email.
Awesome. Hey, great. Thanks again, John. Talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Great job. Next up, we have Paul Martin. Paul's the Senior Vice President and CIO, Baxter International, and a Board Director at Unisys Corporation. And Paul's got some news for us. Paul, welcome to the program.
Hey, Hunter. How you doing? It's good to see you again. I really enjoyed John's interview because at Baxter, we actually started adopting the Amazon way in terms of, how do we do business? So we've adopted the working backwards approach, building a brief, writing what would a press release look like, and really conducting meetings with no PowerPoint. So it's actually pretty interesting to hear him talk about that.
Was it was it a good build and shift in the culture?
Yeah, it's a great build and shift in the culture, and probably a good time for me, as you know, for me to move on and start my retirement. So as of this upcoming Sunday, I am done as the Senior VP and CIO at Baxter. the new person comes on board on Monday, August 5th. I'll stay around for a few weeks to make sure that we do a proper handoff, and then I will go off and have some fun.
What's next?
So what's next? So, well, first of all, will I be able to stay active with HMG strategy? And every time you come to town, I can come to the meetings?
Absolutely. We'd love to have you.
Okay, that's a good answer. Because what's next is I want to continue to stay active in the CIO community here in Chicago. A lot of good friends here, a lot of good lessons learned. So looking forward to spending time with the team on an ongoing basis. But also, when we talked about this at one of the other summits back in late last year, the panel that Daphne ran in terms of board-ready CIOs. So I'm on the board of Unisys Corporation. I've been on that board for just over 3 years, and I'm looking to do more board work. So looking at a potential opportunity now. So stay tuned. There may be a future announcement in terms of another public company board that I'll be part of.
Well, very cool. Paul, when you think about choosing board work, what's most important to you when you basically interview the company and the board and the CEO to see whether you fit and want to be, and you're passionate about their mission?
Yeah, so it's the same thing as if you, as a CIO, interviewing for a CIO position at a company. One, you need to make sure there's a good culture fit, not only with the management team, but also with the other board members. I think that's very key. I think it's also important to have a passion around what the company does. But then more importantly, really thinking about what value do you bring to the board. So in the case of Unisys, a couple of things that they were looking for was a customer perspective. So they're an IT services company. So I know their services, so I could, influence their strategy in terms of that. And then the other thing they were looking for, someone who had deep healthcare knowledge, because that was a major focus as part of their strategy. But the overall thing that you really need to look at is, will this be a good culture fit for you, and will you be able to bring value to the board?
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that. When you think about the role of CIO, it's evolved quite a bit over the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years. What's changed recently, and where do you think the future of the role is going?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 40 years. So, I kind of started back in the, I'm really dating myself here, the 80 column card days, or the 96 column card days. So, I've seen the technology evolve from, everything was kind of big mainframe, 360, 370, IBM mainframes, to then having a little more agility in terms of your IT development, leveraging client server. I've seen all the impacts in terms of, e-commerce and what you can do from that perspective. But what I'm really thrilled about, and this is actually one of the things that almost made me think twice about retiring, is just the opportunities that a CIO has today with everything that they can do to drive digital transformation across their organization. The capabilities that are available to transform the way that your company does business, transform those processes, and enable that through digital technology is absolutely fantastic. The other thing that I would say, Hunter, is I really believe that CIOs in the future, they won't retire. They'll go work on boards, because boards are looking for qualified technology executives that can play a role in terms of providing oversight to the IT strategy, to the cybersecurity strategy, as well as supporting them in terms of their digital transformation efforts as well.
Interesting time, right? When you think of your role in the C-suite and the board at Baxter, what are some memorable moments when you were able to drive innovation or some kind of material transformation?
Yeah, so if we just think about Baxter, there's a couple of things, and Jim Pacella is actually, he's a panelist in an upcoming session, Hunter, and Jim was the IT strategy person. He kind of coined the things that we were doing. He always had a version of it. So it was Paul 1.0, Paul 2.0, Paul 3.0, and 4.0. And so, if I kind of break that down, some of the memorable things that we did was, we did, of course, the big ERP rollouts, consolidation and rollouts across 50 plus countries. We enabled the company separation, so Baxter split and spun off Baxalta. You know, both businesses have done quite well, although Baxalta was acquired by Shire and then to Takeda. But, you know, what I think about now is not only the pandemic response, the IT pandemic response of taking 30,000 workers from working in person to working remote, you know, basically overnight. I think that was pretty big. But the IT transformation that we developed and implemented across the company, where we took out 30% of our IT operating expenses over a 3-year period. We modernized the legacy infrastructure, moving away from 6 outsourced data centers to everything in the cloud. So you have that agility and flexibility from that perspective. We changed our delivery model. We insourced work. We brought the work in-house and put it in our centers that we have in India and Mexico. We lowered our costs. We improved our service levels when we did that. But then the other piece is that we really upskilled the IT team. So we now have over 500 people that are trained in cloud. We have a team of RPA developers, you know, building automation across the organization. And Jim Pacella may even talk about this. He has a small but mighty team of data scientists that are leveraging AI and machine learning across the organization. And in fact, his team has built some predictive capabilities into our medical devices that Baxter has labeled as a Baxter invention, and it's on its way to becoming or getting a patent in the near future. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
Very cool. Wow. You know, Paul, when you think of your most memorable accomplishments, what do you think of?
So it's certainly the transformation that we developed at Baxter. That's going to be part of my legacy. It's how we transform the IT team. And, you know, I recall when we introduced the cloud strategy or the cloud first strategy, I had, you know, hundreds of legacy data center engineers that didn't want to let go of their servers. We called them the server huggers. But, you know, we turned them around and now they're all cloud certified engineers. So just the work that we did in terms of the IT transformation and getting the company ready from a digital perspective.
When you think about your legacy, is there anything else you want to share?
You know, so I think, you know, throughout my career, so 24 years as a CIO at a handful of companies, you know, my legacy is that every place that I've gone, I have helped advance the business capabilities and the technology capabilities at every place that I've been. But I think, you know, what I want people to remember me by is my leadership. You know, I'm a humble, open, collaborative leader that's been very passionate about development of my team members, and you know, a person who is very approachable. So I like the fact that what I've been able to accomplish from a technology perspective, but what I hang my hat on is what people think about when they think about Paul Martin as the man and the leader.
Paul, thanks so much for coming on today's summit and program. Great job. You've been a great fan and supporter for over a decade at the Chicago Summit and the Chicago market. I'd love to have you in other markets to present and speak about your board journey and your journey into the future. And I'd love to consider you as a HMG champion and executive in residence. So let's set up a follow-up call.
That sounds great. I'll have the time.
And past former CIO of the Year award recipient from HMG. So congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great to see you. Next up, we have Eric Christopher. Eric's the co-founder and CEO of Zylo. Eric, welcome to the summit and the program. I think we need we have a mute check. There we go.
Hey, great to see you and nice to see everyone. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you coming in via Zoom today and being a co-founder. Tell us a little bit about that journey when you met your partner and you said, we got this idea and we think we're going to really solve a major issue out there in the enterprise. When did the light bulb go off and how long have you been on this journey?
Yeah, actually, the idea kind of came, I was actually ironically in Chicago at a company called Sprout Social that became a darling that just recently became a public company. It's a success story there. And I led a sales organization where we help companies buy a social product, a social management product. And our whole strategy was really to start with a single buyer in the company and have it expand. And so I realized IT folks had a really hard challenge with managing SaaS products as they've been purchased across organizations. So I was excited about kind of changing the way that vendors and customers interact and have a lot of passion around that. I actually spent the last 2 decades in sales as well and seeing the opportunities to improve that experience between a buyer and a seller.
So thank you. It's been a crazy year, 2020, right? You got to agree to that. And your focus on SaaS as a company really ideally positions you to help enterprise executives really solve a major problem. You want to talk a little bit about what's unique about Zylo?
Yeah, well, right now, you think about what's unique about Zylo is CIOs and IT leaders have a pretty big challenge right now in conflict. You want to control costs in an uncertain environment, and OpEx are becoming more important for CIOs to manage. You have to keep the company safe and remove risk. And at the same time, you've got to empower employees in this work from home experiment that we're in to make them successful. So, it's a really tough dynamic. And what Zylo really does as a business, we help CIOs and IT leaders bring those things in play of controlling costs and reducing risk and making employees successful with SaaS software.
Excellent. There's a lot of debate around shadow IT. What do you think the real issue is?
Shadow IT is kind of one of those broadly used terms. It usually has a connotation of being negative. The way I kind of view it is anything that's invisible that you need to see is related to technology is probably in the shadows or is kind of invisible. And you have to have visibility because there are risks, that are going to be out there. So you have to be able to have visibility into those. But you also shadow IT sometimes gets put into this bucket that it's bad for employees to buy software or departments. And actually, that's where a lot of the innovation lies. So it's really all about finding what's invisible, seeing it, and then empowering departments and employees to leverage it better and to get better support systems and things like that. So shadow IT is actually quite a good thing as long as you're putting programs in place to manage it well and make your company more competitive and successful.
And that's what people should do, is put programs in place to manage it, right?
Absolutely. IT's job is really expanding very, very rapidly out into the business. I mean, most of you that are in the role know that it's been happening, but the rate that now businesses and departments are moving, the job is more important than ever to have programs to get visibility and support across the company.
You must see a lot of CIOs across the globe. What do you, tagging on what Paul mentioned about the changing role of CIO, where do you see the role of CIO going?
Well, I think one CIO, I just mentioned that the last 6 months for her was a 6-month, the last 6 months was more digital transformation and change in the organization, empowering this remote workforce with new technology, using AI and getting SaaS tools in place than she had seen over the last 10 years. And so I think the role of the CIO is going to be exciting because it's really continues to move away from just supporting the IT function of the organization and is really about supporting the customer experience, because now employees drive that experience and software that employees use to do their jobs drive that experience. So there's a really, I think, exciting opportunity where it's going to be about employee productivity, efficiencies of the organization, becoming competitively differentiated because every company is now a technology company.
That's really well said. When SaaS spending accelerated here recently, are you still seeing a focus on cost controls?
We are. We're the first piece though. Really, this year, it's almost, you think about, we've been in a it was a sprint to get the employees out into the workforce or out into the remote offices like where we are today. Now it's a bit of a marathon of, okay, what's going to stay and what's going to be sustainable. So now IT leaders and CEOs are worried about what next year is going to look like, and a lot of these locked in subscriptions that are growing, how they're going to manage that. So cost controls are really important right now. And I think next year, probably cost optimization and reducing costs are going to be a priority as well. And then it's going to change again. We're going to move now from a marathon to a triathlon is everybody heard it, because we're going to have a hybrid, probably office environment, new tools and things like that. So it's going to be a fun, interesting year, but I think cost controls are important.
I like that. We're going into triathlon. I love the sporting metaphor. So what's unique about Zylo, and how do you help the whole SaaS management of SaaS?
We set out to solve a pretty complicated problem, because SaaS by nature isn't owned by one person. Visibility, we talked about, marketing owns a lot of SaaS, HR operations, and IT plays a central role. We kind of took the our ambitious goals and kind of ways of being able to give IT and the entire organization complete visibility to applications A to Z. So everything an employee swipes a credit card to your most expensive CRM rolled out application, and be able to enable you to consolidate applications and rationalize them, manage hundreds of renewals that are happening across the business, and making sure that the products that you're buying and the licenses you're making investments in are they're being used and being used effectively. And so we help by providing tools and services to IT leaders to make that happen.
So am I getting this correct? It's essentially an aggregator or one pane of glass to look at the complete SaaS landscape?
Yeah, think of it as a single pane of glass, a command center to look at every single application and really understand how it's being used, what it's for, how they relate to each other. How many project management tools do you have? Do you have the right amount? Are people using the right tools? Why are people buying applications versus using some of the ones that you've made investments in? And so really a control center to help manage all of that.
And Eric, you have a wide range of clients, kind of a smattering of clients across industry. Do you want to highlight a few?
Yeah, we work with companies that are progressive, what we call kind of cloud-only companies, software companies that are growing really fast themselves, like Zendesk and Slack and Atlassian, where they are really about speed and freedom and enabling employees. And then also large enterprises that have made the conscious shift to make really everything cloud first. So companies like Nike and CBS and Verizon Media. And they all have the same common challenges: a lot of applications, a lot of things moving to the cloud, and a need to put in controls and security around it as well.
And final word on what makes Zylo unique and the timing for the Zylo value prop now?
We felt like we started the business at the perfect time 4 years ago, because SaaS has been doubling year over year. This year, it's yet to be known what it's going to be. But if you look at the public markets and the earnings and the SaaS companies that are selling to all of you, the timing of and the need and the relevancy of having a professional program around managing SaaS has never been more important. So we're a unique company where we're solving this problem today for some of the largest companies in the world, and a lot of innovation ahead that we're still building. And so what we're doing is just super relevant with the unpredictable, fast-growing nature of SaaS and the need for IT to start changing how they're thinking about managing it.
Hey, Eric, this has been a real exciting interview, and you're really a top pick by HMG and by myself. One last kind of idea, leadership kind of inspiration in your career, or when you think of a CIO, probably the most exciting time ever, but the most challenging time ever, as the line of business, the board, and the CEO want more and more out of IT. Any kind of leadership advice for a CIO?
Really have a beginner's mind. I know that it's kind of a slogan people say, but I think a lot of you can look at the way that technology has been delivered and there's a lot of principles, and you know your company is probably better than anyone, but have a beginner's mind of how new technologies come into your organization and kind of think differently. And also I encourage, as well as for CEOs that aren't paying attention to this, they need to. So I think it's a good timing to start, really show, once you're getting visibility across the entire business, it really showcases the role of the CIO is no longer to make IT effective or just an area of the business. It is your customers need you in that role at the table. So beginner's mind and kind of, exposed with the opportunity as the CEOs about what's possible.
Hey, Eric, this has been a great interview. How can people get in touch with you or someone on your team?
Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Eric Christopher, or my Twitter account is eChristopher. So shoot me a DM, and then we can coordinate some time to meet. We'd love to talk to any of you about the latest and greatest in the world, the office of the CIO or SaaS or anything. So
great job. And I'd love to interview you for my new book. I think it's a very inspirational story you have there.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Hunter. I would love to. So thanks you.
Sir. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye now.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Next up, envisioning the future, disruption and designing radical new business models. Jennifer Wesson Greenman. Hey, Jennifer, great to see you. Welcome to the program. Jennifer is the CIO of Cancer Treatment Centers of America. First, a little bit of context. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Jennifer, for our audience, what do you guys do?
Sure. So we are a national network of hospitals and clinics that are exclusively focused on compassionate, patient-centered cancer care. We do have hospitals in 5 markets across the country, including Chicago. We're located in Zion. In my role, I lead Enterprise IT Division, which encompasses all of the application and technology services across our hospitals and clinics.
Well, you've been busy the last 7 months, no doubt, right?
Yes,
when you think of the trends and transformation that's going on, what's on your mind?
Well, what we're seeing, I think what's most striking to all of us, regardless of our industry, and certainly it's evidenced by the forum we're participating in today, is that virtual is now the standard for communication and collaboration. And this is our new reality, and it's something that we have to embrace as technology leaders. And I think it's actually a huge opportunity for us to empower a digitally dexterous workforce and consumer community. So in healthcare specifically, this paradigm shift was illustrated quite starkly by our nearly overnight shift from bricks and mortar care delivery to telehealth. And as many experts have rightfully noted, our industry has advanced. We probably have achieved about 5 years of innovation in a matter of weeks in response to the pandemic and serving the needs of our patient communities, our very vulnerable patient communities. So I think that this does highlight for us our exceptional ability to adapt and respond quite rapidly to changing circumstances.
Interesting times, right? When you think about technology driving accelerated growth across a wide variety of business industry scenarios, how do you visualize that when you think about, so we can apply a broad model towards visualizing driving accelerated growth?
Sure. Well, so I think first and foremost, we as technology leaders can set the standard within our organizations for agility. And we can do that by establishing very robust digital operating and governance models. And then really the focus there has to be flexibility and adaptiveness to our customers' changing needs. So things like organizing around product teams, adopting and implementing modernized technology stacks. These are all things that we can do to prepare for a wide variety of future business circumstances, given that there is so much uncertainty today for us. I would also say agility and speed to execution are going to be key for us as technology leaders. I like to often quote my CEO, Dr. Pat Basu, who is a resident of the Chicago area, who says that it's better to do something and make a mistake than not to do anything at all. And that's something that I really have embraced as a technology leader here at CTCA. I would say in terms of specific technology investments, I would look towards establishing competencies in customer experience, automation, and artificial intelligence as a priority for responsible growth, because it's something that we're really going to have to focus on as technology leaders, not just growth that really that is fiscally responsible and able to adapt, again, to very changing circumstances. Again, a very healthcare focused example of this would be understanding and leveraging automation for back-end business processes, for example, things like robotic process automation that many organizations are adopting, leveraging artificial intelligence to analyze the large amounts of data that we have to help inform both treatment, both diagnosis and treatment decisions by our expert care providers, as well as also leveraging those large and sophisticated analytics tools to be able to uncover advancements in science and really understand better the basis of disease as well as effective treatments for these diseases. And then finally, with respect to customer experience, I would say that we fully embrace the role of digital technologies in reaching exponentially more patients than we have been able to in the past. So we are able now to reach healthcare consumers across a variety of digital channels so that we can guide and facilitate their care journey in a way that's much more convenient, we hope, and very personalized, which I find to be the most exciting opportunity for us as technology leaders in healthcare.
We really think about redesigning the delivery of healthcare via digital or virtual. This really stretches your skill set to a different dimension around being strategic, right? With the customer being the patient in mind.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And we have to be able to adapt. I think also when we think about another key trend as technology leaders that we should be prepared for is talent recruitment and also talent retention in this geographically distributed business environment that we are operating within. I think, just one example that I'm sure all of us have faced, we have long had remote employees serve as core members of our teams. But the new reality is we can source talent from almost anywhere now going forward in this virtual environment. I think that's very exciting for us in terms of being able to, plan and source an increasingly talented workforce. But it also creates a risk for us as technology leaders in that our talent can be recruited away by companies that may have significant reputational and in some cases financial advantages over us. So I think that we as CIOs need to lay the groundwork for robust development and retention strategies in this increasingly competitive labor market that we have. We also need to continue to focus on cultivating a passion for learning and growth and identify those individuals who really embrace and lean into change, which is not a simple endeavor. As humans, we like to we tend to crave stability and predictability, but as this year has shown us, our world is anything but predictable now. And so while we can't always identify those traits, I would say through the talent selection process, what I do think we can do as leaders is model these traits and engage our workforce transparently and candidly in how we can evolve with our rapidly shifting business and organizational environments.
Jennifer, thanks so much for coming on the program today. Stay with us. We'll circle back to you in just 1 minute. Next up, we have Craig Mackereth. He's a GVP and Global Support of Rimini Street. Craig, welcome to the program.
Hey, Hunter. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. And I see it looks like the New York skyline behind you there.
Indeed. I need to swap it out for Chicago, I guess, but also confusing coming in from Dallas today. So shout out to Chicago. Always great to spend some time there in person and now virtually, which is great.
You lead a group of engineers across 17 countries, amazing scale. When you think of, here's a little pop quiz, folks. When you think of your ERP, what's your top concern? If everyone could simply vote and submit, that'd be great. We'll share the results here shortly. When you think about managing remotely, what are some of the tips in keeping people engaged?
Yeah, so we've been in a very fortunate situation, Hunter, that we were running a very remote team before the pandemic hit. And so we've been helpful, I think, to a lot of our clients who've been struggling with this. A couple of key things. One, giving people the ability to work remotely. It's not just about the physical location of the employees, but the way that we expect outcomes to be reached and giving employees flexibility to accommodate family, other commitments, for example. I think, we need to focus on the outcomes and the deliverables rather than time that people are spending in their seats. So show some faith and some trust in the team. A couple of other quick things that we've known and found to be very valuable is that peer connectivity and accessibility is really key. People don't want to feel alone, especially now where they might be socially isolated even from their neighbors and friends and other local events. It's great to have that connectivity. So instant messaging and some of the technology that we all use day to day is great for that. Stay connected. And then finally, my guidance for leaders out there is never underestimate the power of your one-on-one communication with your teams and your leaders. They need that opportunity, routine opportunity. Even if you don't have a firm, we must talk about these key business things. Just make sure that those one-on-ones don't slip by the wayside in these busy times.
No, really great, 3 really clear, solid points. I agree with you 100%. We used to call it management by walking around.
Right, exactly. And you're not able to do that anymore. You can't kind of lean over has to come by the office and kind of say hello and kind of swap stories. But you do that over IM and allowing that time for that banter, as I would call it, at the beginning and the end of meetings and having that connection. One of the things that's brought us all closer together is everyone's got some shared experience with, working from home and, family at home and other things going on. There's a lot to talk about. And so opportunity abounds to have that discussion, which is important. It's that walking around and spending that time together.
When you think about customer service, Craig, of the future, what changes do you think are going to be there?
Right, so taking a step away from the pandemic focus now, I think we're on the edge of a major pivot for customer service. And of course, our focus is enterprise software service, but for all industries from banking, retail, pretty much anywhere that customer service is crucial, I think that there's a real change coming. And the disruptive technology that impacts this the most is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And you'll hear about it a lot of these different forums and things about how people are using it. In the customer service world, in my view, it can be used for good or it can be used in a negative way. And so to reimagine customer service in the future, I think there's a lot of companies that will be very tempted to use AI to deflect away to knowledge bases and frequently asked questions and away from what some might see as an expensive, whether face-to-face or on the telephone type support experience to self-service. And I think there's going to be winners and losers out of that. I personally feel that connecting people directly to talented engineers is the most successful result, but I guess we'll see how that pans out over the next 5 to 10 years across many industries.
Any leadership tips or style tips that you can share with the audience today?
I think from a leadership perspective, lead by example, very important for us. I think we're right there in the trenches with our team day in, day out, and living and breathing the values that we have. I think keeping it real, making sure that you're accessible, and also again giving that opportunity to talk about things and having some fun. Here at Rimini Street, just this past weekend, we released this video where members of our teams all around the world were singing along to a song together, and it's just incredible fun clip. And those types of fun things that you can do and bringing everybody together, it really talks to the culture. And we're all about the the right. Everyone here has their own culture that they like. It's kind of one of the fun things that sticks in people's memory, and very important to do those sort of fun things.
You gotta have fun, right? I mean, life's too short.
Absolutely.
Craig, we'll circle back to here in just a minute. Please stay with us. Next up, we have Susan Malish. Susan is the VP and CIO of Loyola University of Chicago. Susan, great to see you.
Good afternoon, Hunter. Nice to see everyone as well.
Yeah. Hey, boy, your industry was disrupted quite a bit through the pandemic. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's probably many people on the call today that either have kids of their own, nieces, nephews, or some connection to someone who might be a school age of some sort. And higher ed is certainly in that group. And as you would expect, the higher ed industry is a very high touch business. It's not just about the academic experience in the classroom, but it's also the undergraduate experience in particular is about being away from home, making your own decisions, meeting people, interacting, becoming parts of different kinds of communities. And that's completely been turned upside down. Impact for the industry has, I think IDC published a report as early as April that said 28% of universities expected a 10 to 20% decline in revenue. and 22% expected a 20 to 50% decline in revenue. Overall, the impact was projected to be $19 billion. So there's been a lot of shifting. A lot of it has been on the news. So, you know, we could certainly talk at length about the various configurations, and you'll see a variety of ways that institutions have approached how they're bringing students back to campus or staying completely remote. And there's so many variables that are factoring into those decisions, including how easily is it for you to acquire tests so that you can do broad-based, regular surveillance testing on your populations of students, faculty, staff? Are you in a rural area? Are you in a more urban area such as we are in Chicago? So there's a lot of factors, and it's really, I would say we're operating under our emergency response plan structure at Loyola, so that gives you an indication of the level of management and rapid decision making that needs to occur right now.
Wow, that's really impressive. When you think of businesses cross industry, the whole mandate to innovate and to disrupt themselves is stronger than ever. What should people be thinking about regarding technology and innovation and the whole acceleration that we're in right now?
Yeah, so some of the things that I think we're experiencing, we've completely revamped what KPIs look like in this environment. We've built dashboards to measure things that, you know, have always been important, but now we want to look at them and see them every day. We had a really strong, and we do have a really strong BI group, and the rate at which they're putting up dashboards for our leadership team has been really impressive. So how we measure digital transformation, moving a lot of the automation projects, I think Jennifer referenced this as well, moving manual processes, the need to automate, people are remote, there has to be workflows in place. Another thing we're really being attentive to is how we make engagement easier, and we're laser focused on personalization. So what are the steps we need to take to increase the personalization of someone's experience, whether you're a student, faculty, staff, prospect, parent, donor, alum. There's a lot of different constituent groups there. And how do we make that a frictionless experience, but also a very sticky experience? So the engagement factor is just really, really important. Fewer silos, really taking more of an enterprise approach so that we can offer a consistent experience and some great integration across units, schools, etc. And I think our ability to respond in a more agile way and look at iterative kinds of improvements, because things have to be done right now, is another element of that. So I'll stop there.
You know, Susan, great answer. You know, you think of the saying, never let a crisis go to waste. It sounds to me like you folks are in full force innovation, rethinking, re-energizing the whole go-to-market, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And your leadership style in this whole time has been?
Probably better to ask others. But I would say, you know, we're all spending an awful lot of time on Zoom, and I'm finding, you know, over time with my peers, my leadership peers at the university, I'm really trying to make an effort to reach out in a more personal way, because we aren't having those opportunities to arrive early at a meeting, stay late at a meeting, pass in the hallway, and, oh, by the way, we were going to connect on this. Those opportunities just aren't there. So that very intentional approach to make sure you're reaching out to your own leadership team and those who you have to collaborate with, your partners across the organization, is really important, because connectedness is an important human attribute. Just because we're remote, that doesn't go away. And so really being intentional about that, I think it has to be a priority.
Awesome. Great stuff. We'll circle back to you. Stay right there. Hey, Jennifer, back to you. When you think about when the pandemic hit, some people were saying, okay, I'm going to use this in a personal sense, a way a time to really develop this aspect of my life. Anything that you learned more about yourself or did differently in the last 6 or 7 months that you wouldn't have been able to stop and change?
Sure. I think I learned the importance personally of sustaining and hopefully enhancing personal relationships. And this very much goes back to Susan's point. I think it's true in both the personal and the professional sense, is really connecting and using this time to, you know, foster greater bonds with our families, with our friends, and certainly our professional colleagues who greatly need support during this difficult time.
And any great answer. Any lessons learned regarding how to effectively video or Zoom in and work relationships in a different way, in business relations, I should say, frame that out, in a different way to create that innovation or movement in an organization where in the past it might not have been so easy to do?
Well, you know, one sort of practical consideration always is, you know, being very disciplined about leveraging the video feature. I don't know about all of you guys, but I've been on numerous calls where nobody's on video, and that really, that creates this sort of disconnect, if you will, between the other participants. So I try to model, and I'm not 100% of the time effective, but I really try to model leveraging the real-time video interaction as much as possible, and hoping that, you know, certainly my colleagues within information technology will follow suit, and colleagues on the call. But I think that is important. It's not the same as a personal interaction, you know, one-on-one in a physical room, but it's definitely closer than just being on a standard conference call.
You know, it really is a different dynamic, right? Leading via Zoom. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important. It's also important, I think, to be very intentional about listening and giving people time to respond, you know, again, in a way that when you're physically in the same room, you know, you can usually sense when someone has a point they want to make, or when there's discomfort, or, you know, it's the nonverbals, right, are very obvious. It's really, really tough when you don't have nonverbals, you don't have real-time feedback on the virtual communication tools. So I think we as leaders have to certainly be more intentional about pausing and asking questions, soliciting feedback, you know, from the workforce and business partners that we interact with now almost exclusively on a virtual channel.
Great, really thoughtful comments. Thanks, Jennifer. Hey, Craig, back to you. When you think about IT projects during the pandemic, what are you seeing out there on a broad scale?
Yeah, so we talked to a lot of different companies who've really looked at all the IT projects that they had on their plate, and most people seem to be really sharpening this to concentrate only when there's a genuine return on investment in a very short period. So get ROI in 12 months, you're gold. Anything longer than that is just not happening. So, you know, oftentimes you can't find that return on investment in some of the traditional like IT, ERP consolidation or upgrade projects, for example. You're just cleaning things up, you're not winning clients, you're not reducing your operating expenses. We heard from Paul earlier, projects like data science, for example, have been very, very popular. You get a near-term return on investment. Jennifer spoke about AI and also robotic process automation. So we're hearing a lot about those technologies. And when you think about, you know, they're quite, you know, different areas. What's the commonality? They all have a true return on investment in a short amount of time. And that's really been the differentiator.
Interesting. You know, Craig, for folks that don't know much about Rimini Street, what do you guys do? What's unique about your space?
Yeah, and so on the basis of that answer, you'd assume that we're involved in these projects, right? But actually, we don't do that. So we're here to provide support for clients that are using ERP software from SAP, from Oracle, from Microsoft, from Salesforce. We provide customer service second to none. So direct connectivity to our engineers in 17 different countries, providing very rapid response, great quality support, and obviously big savings in comparison to what our competitors are doing.
Well, the idea right there is the quality of the support and the savings can help redirect funds into innovation, right?
Absolutely. So, you know, when they're working with us, then every engineer that they're interacting with has 10 or more years of experience. A very experienced resources helps a huge deal. And then they can take those funds and channel that into whichever projects make sense. So, you know, you really need to stand up, you know, whatever collaborative technology you need. This is a way to free up those funds from your existing budget. So we encourage anyone who's interested in that, reach out to your Rimini Street team, and we're happy to help.
Brilliant. Any bright spots from this pandemic that you can see, Craig?
You know, we've talked about the connectivity between people before, and I talked about the dance video earlier. You know, I see a lot more of that human to human interaction. I think that's been enabled because it's more socially acceptable now that sometimes the video delivery is not going to be perfect. It used to be if you were having, a key meeting with, only senior executives present, everyone's full suit and tie, and it's kind of, pristine background and everything, now people understand that it's not always going to be that way. You're surrounded by family, you've got, a lot of other things happening, and there's a lot more acceptance of that. And I think that's helped to break down some barriers. And I hope, as one that, I spend a lot of my time pre-pandemic flying around the country and the world, I hope that people are more open to that in the future as well. Once we've got a vaccine in place and there's more normality, we've broken that ice. Let's keep it going and save some of those air miles and not have to travel around quite so much.
Well, save some miles and save the environment, right?
Exactly.
Save our climate, I think. And probably be more productive and healthier and happier.
Yeah, for sure.
Exciting time, Craig, to be a tech leader?
It's very exciting, mate. We've definitely enjoyed this very much. It's great to be able to help out so many different industries. We're a pan industry, so we get to kind of touch so many different areas. And we've seen a lot of tough times though too. I mean, it's been hard to see a lot of top talent, lose their jobs and get out into the market. But we're starting to see some rebounding happening now across many, many industries and sectors, and a lot of innovation happening too. So it's a little bittersweet, I'd say.
Excellent. Hey, thanks for coming on the program, Craig. And thanks for supporting the summit. How can folks reach out to you and get in touch?
Yeah, RiminiStreet.com is the best way to go and get you in touch with our local team. We've got our team is around the world, so we're happy to help out. Massive presence in the Chicago area, so we'll look forward to working with many of you in the future.
Super. Great to hear. Great to have you. We'll talk soon. Hey, Susan, why don't you wrap it up for us? Finally, any bright spots out of the pandemic that you can cite or see?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what a tremendous opportunity amidst a real crisis. I mean, not only have we been dealing with the pandemic, but so many of our businesses have been dealing with other business continuity issues, fire, flood, protests, looting, all over the place, right? So there's a lot of complications, and in that is embedded a sense of urgency and opportunity to solve problems. And that's one of the most exciting things about being in technology and being a technology leader is that we're really good at solving problems. I think the personalization piece that we already talked about, that those initiatives are accelerated and people see the value and the priority, and you don't have to convince anybody. It's all right here. So leveraging different platforms, intelligent AI, digital assistants, the BI strategy is definitely accelerating. People want to manage, monitor, and measure everything right now because it is so important. So I think, we've got to really be mindful of the exhaustion we have in some places on our teams. But also really embrace the opportunity we have to make a difference.
Susan, thanks for coming on the program. It's always great to see you. We'll see you later at the recognition program as well. Guys, great panel. Jennifer, Craig, Susan really killed it. I mean, it was a great show. Really good thought leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter.
Good to see you all. Hey, next up, we have Enabling the Agile Enterprise, Ali Faraj. Ali, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. What a great summit so far.
Take it away. It's your show.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for giving me the time here. So I've got some great panelists here for you. I have Jim Pacella here from who's VP of Global IT Strategy Analytics at Baxter. Rusty Patel, who's SVP CIO at Tenneco, and Bruce Chanelli, who's VP IT of CIO at TTX Companies. And we're going to have a great conversation around enabling the agile business. So Jim, why don't you give us a quick overview of your role at Baxter, what you're doing over there?
Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, can you hear fine.
Hey, nice to see you, and thanks for inviting me into the panel here. So I am Vice President of IT Strategy and Enterprise Analytics at Baxter. It's a kind of a twofold role. One is I get to stick my nose in all things IT and all things business on the strategy side, which hopefully helps my colleagues. And then the second side of it is really trying to drive the innovation strategy around data and what we're going to be doing with AI, analytics, big data to really change the way we go to market and really, and also change the way we deliver healthcare.
Excellent. Thanks for that background there. And Russ, you want to go next? Give us a quick background on your role and what you know about Tenneco.
Sure. Thanks very much for allowing me to be part of the panel. So just to maybe a little bit about Tenneco, we're a Fortune 180 automotive supplier. So we're a designer, maker, marketer of automotive products for both original equipment and aftermarket applications. We serve all markets, light duty, commercial truck, off highway, industrial, motorsports, and so on. I guess the interesting thing about Tenneco is that, in 2018, we had acquired a company of almost equal size called Federal Mogul. Acquired, integrated, had the intention of, operationally creating two different business divisions and spinning one. But as we entered 2020, business performance, ultimately capital markets and the pandemic, we had to change our strategy. All right. So as of today, we're trying to figure out how we can make Tenneco, a stronger enterprise portfolio company for, all of our automotive customers. So we're focused on trying to drive advancements in automotive mobility, really as a premier solutions provider. So that's who we are today.
Excellent. Thanks for the background there. Bruce, you want to go next?
Sure. Bruce Schinelli, as introduced, VP and CIO here at TTX Company, North America's largest provider of freight rail car related services. All things technology, that's kind of what I get. So that's me in a nutshell.
No worries, no worries. I'll give a quick overview of myself here. CTO Americas for Insurance Financial Services for DXC Technologies. DXC has a fairly broad history, new name. Around 3 years ago, after Meg Whitman broke up HP, the biggest piece was HP Enterprise Solutions. You might be aware of that. That company merged with my former employer, CSC, and now became DXC. And so DXC Technology is the world's largest independent IT service integrator, competing with other service providers, but we're independent in the sense that we don't really have many products. It's really a lot of it's our partner products. So 300 plus partners in the ecosystem, delivering IT solutions across the globe, across every vertical industry. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, guys. So we'll start off, Jim, with you. Let's go to a quick, easy one here for you. 2020, right? What a crazy year. A lot of change and disruption in the industry, particularly in healthcare. And you're all at Baxter. How was the business model changed, and what's the organization done to respond?
So Ali, thanks for the question. I think, so Baxter Healthcare, just so everyone understands, global manufacturer and provider of what we consider critical therapies for hospitals, especially a number of products used in the ICU, the intensive care units, as well as for chronically ill patients who suffer from life-threatening conditions where they have vital organs that aren't working the way we're blessed with. So I think that's what Baxter is about. Very large organization, produces product all over the world, very predictable business. Everything we make, we sell essentially because of the demand. Healthcare is a fairly predictable, up until March or February of this year, it was a fairly predictable business. And I think that's the biggest one of the biggest challenges we had in our operation was we went from having a real understanding of our supply chain and the manufacturing demands of the market and what we needed to produce to just a variability overnight, where we went and said, okay, big ramp up in Q1 around building product for ICUs all over the world. And then thankfully the demand really just didn't come because we were able to get virus under control in many markets. But that led to a lot of other unpredictability in terms of demand in the market. It was elective surgeries came down and other infection rates were much varied based on, everyone doing stay at home, which just from a industrial manufacturer perspective, we had to take a different look. We had forecasting models that you could have done on a spreadsheet, and now we had to pivot towards AI-based insights. And the other thing is related to that. It wasn't just do we have the right data to be able to inform our business. It was how do you change to a flexible manufacturing model or change to a flexible supply chain model when you've got you know, a fairly static and structured approach to doing that type of business? The other thing I would just mention is on the commercial side, you know, there was a huge change in the way our sales folks, our service folks, the people that go out and deliver product to patients in their homes had to do business. And that is still something we're working towards, because the access to caregivers, to do training, to position products, to service patient products in their home or in a hospital is very constrained right now. And then I think the third challenge we've had, and I suspect everybody had this, is, you know, especially if you're a manufacturer, half our workforce we sent home. All the knowledge workers are now working at home, and making sure you got capacity to support that. But the other side of it is our manufacturing, our plants across the world. 50% of our people are in plants. Those were going like gangbusters. And so, you know, how do you provide the PPE, the personal protective equipment? You know, we had to ramp up staff, and just having to build flexibility into, again, a predictable operation was a big part of the challenge. I think what we've done with AI, what we've done with just collaborative technologies was key to making sure we were able to sustain this business model.
A lot of pressure on Baxter, I'm sure, from all angles. So it looks like you're, you know, kind of handling it as you can as it comes and goes, right? But preparing for the future, it sounds like.
Yes, I think we are prepared for the future. I think that, you know, I told Paul, who was on the earlier with Hunter, you know, we were both lucky and good in this whole thing. We were good in that we did a number of things over the past several years under Paul's leadership to make sure our architecture was sound. But we were also lucky. I mean, we were lucky that the virus didn't have the numbers that, you know, the worst case models said it was going to have. And we were lucky that, you know, people were able to adapt and do work from home or be able to support themselves when clinical care was less available to them.
Of course. Russ, you want me to go to you real quick? Obviously, a lot of changes at your organization, Tenneco here. So, you know, cultural wise, what are the, I would say, existing cultural changes that are going on right now in flux? And what do you expect the long-term impact to be on your organization, both from an agile perspective and non?
Sure. First of all, I just wish Jim could throw us some of that predictable revenue, at least prior to the pandemic. We would appreciate that. But, you know, I guess for us, you know, I've been here 2.5 years, and I would have characterized Tenneco as a rather traditional automotive multinational. And there's no question, you know, what we've faced, like all, has posed, you know, many challenges and a lot of opportunity, particularly around, I would say, the need for speed and transparency and how we evaluate risk and make choices. The thing I guess I would like to share, again, it may not be all that unique, but it certainly was a new experience for us, had to do with how our executive leadership team, you know, engaged and communicated with each other. Again, rather traditional. So, you know, we would have annual, quarterly, monthly, operational, periodic, you know, planned events for us to get together and communicate. And it was effective, generally, you know, effective. But, you know, come February-ish, when the pandemic was clearly present and impacting China, and that being one of our largest markets, you know, we went into a different mode where we began to meet every day as a leadership team. So our CEO and his directs. And of course, the initial focus was around employee health and safety. But, you know, it quickly moved to liquidity. You know, our public information is we lost half of our revenue in about 60 days. And with 300 manufacturing, distribution, and tech centers around the world, you know, we have a high fixed cost. So we were very concerned about, you know, surviving, right, and remaining a going concern. Now, you know, kind of 9 months into this, you know, we're still meeting 5 days a week as a leadership team. And the good thing is that, you know, perhaps, of course, we remained focused on health and safety, right, for our associates, but the conversations have become much more strategic. You know, we're focused on, revenue optimization and customer support and supplier risk management and, policies and investor and government relations and, compliance, branding, of course, we still have the deliberate forums, right, where we get together to try to, think through, let's say, headier topics. But this level of real-time dialogue has made a really significant contribution, I think, to the effectiveness of, our organization. And, and I guess the other thing I would add is that, from a communications perspective, of course, we've enhanced the level of transparency and probably the frequency and I think the depth, of our communication to all of our stakeholders. And so my personal observation is that I think we're much more comfortable telling folks what we know and what we don't know, and being intentional about trying to share when we intend to, come back around with more precise answers. And I do think it's helped the, let's say, bolster the 78,000 workforce, right, to be, more effective. Again, prior to the pandemic, unfortunately, we were a little unpredictable in terms of our overall financial performance. What I guess we're all proud to say is, we beat consensus in the last 2 quarters. Now, maybe, it's a low bar. So, it's better to be lucky than good. Sometimes I like Jim's comment, but, we hope to continue that. And your last question was, I fully expect, our decision-making communication style to continue to evolve. And I do think, we have every intention of keeping up, with this level of performance.
Yeah, you overcome some tough challenges there. And I love the fact how you're stressing the importance of the clarity in the communication process throughout the entire area, right? Not just for the executive teams, top down, the entire way. I think that's the real focus here. It's not like in your organization that's really helped you really progress and move forward in a very challenging time. Bruce, I want to go to you. What actions are you taking to adjust this new normal, this crazy world we live in, right? To coordinate with client partners and executives to understand their strategies, their needs, their concerns. How are you shifting? A lot of this talking about internal organization. How are you shifting to really address the needs of your clients, your partners, and what you're doing there?
Well, I think that we were also, I would echo a number of the comments that were made in the sense that we've been preparing for quite some time by building out our application set as mobile so that we were able to get it to customers wherever they were. And our customers are, in our case, actually our owners. And, so we have multiple touch points throughout, the rail industry into the different railroads as they try to utilize our equipment. We also have a fair number, almost 100 locations where people have to go to work every day. It's considered critical infrastructure. So these people never stopped working. And we face the challenges of it's going to sound simple, but we had last year put into place time clocks where you were using your thumbs to check in. Maybe some of the other manufacturers did as well. And all of a sudden it was like, do we really want people touching their thumbs to, over and over again, when you didn't understand at the time how this COVID was spread. So I think that, looking at all those different challenges, we're able to pivot very quickly and allowed us to keep working during those times. So, and I do think that dealing with all the different people, they've all, the ability to move online virtually was, I think, allowing us to keep in contact with the people and run the meetings that we used to run in person. So it's been an interesting experience. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, say the least, right? Say the least. So we have about 5 minutes left. I want to pose a question to you that I want to answer first. basically my viewpoint on this. And I view this, obviously there's tragic circumstances going on right now, but I view it as also an opportunity to really transform, an opportunity for change, to bring in true disruption in the organization, right? I think, you know, as someone who was worked in IT services and different corporations for many years, over 25 years in my career, you know, mainframe still exists, and the death of mainframe was called upon, you know, decades ago, right? Legacy software, legacy applications, legacy tools that everyone sort of fought you on, we have to have it, that are sitting in data centers. As you adjust, and I personally view this as an opportunity to sort of reinforce those changes and hopefully fast track them, get faster to the cloud, get out of the data center, move off premises, do things that are more agile and allow you to at least adjust to the next threat, right? Next disaster. We don't know what's going to be. Is it COVID-20? Is it something else? Who knows, right? The point being is to be in a position where you're so agile that no matter what comes your way, you can really address it. So I'll stick with you, Bruce. What's your viewpoint on that feedback, and how do you take that in your industry?
I think that things that were kind of a struggle before became pretty clear. So, for example, we last year moved, our ERP, supply chain systems, everything went to the cloud, to software as a service. And originally selling that idea was difficult, but it made us, mobile immediately. And we also moved our data centers to co-location facilities. So we got out of the data center business. So essentially we were 100% cloud, and by the end of 2019. And in 2020, we walked out the door and kept working. So it was, it just reinforced that idea that, hey, the strategy that we've been pushing, since say 2016, and then finally executed on, and it worked. And so, quite honestly, it makes all the future conversations so much easier. So I will echo, I also think that from a management sense, people are recognizing after this extended virtual setting, like, why are we going to the office? Can we source teams all over the place? We've already made several hires that are not, in the Chicagoland area, and we're not planning on moving them there. So things are changing, and I see it accelerating. So I'll leave it at that.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that feedback. And then Jim, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think this whole move towards built for agility. It used to be built to last. Now it's built for agility is what we really aspire to. I guess two things there. One is, when I walked in today, I came into the office because I thought the bandwidth would be better and the kids won't be messing around, and just to be on here. And the smoke detector won't go off when somebody's cooking. But I walked in, pulled in the garage. There's 20 cars in the garage for a facility that holds 2,000 people. Walk through to my office, and all the cubicles are empty, and there's all this tech gear lying about the place that everybody clamored for. And the realization is, it's the tech is little to do with it. It's the people. And we were able to carry on regardless of these people, all these vacant seats. They're all at home. They all figured it out. And so the number one thing I think is, how do you raise the tech IQ of the organization? How do you really empower people to be able to navigate all of this? And that's been one of the big things we're working towards is that notion of, every business person needs to be a technologist, and every technologist needs to be a business person. And so collectively, we're trying to raise that tech IQ. And there's a lot we're doing around the architecture to lower the burden and the barriers of tech, move towards cloud and those things to be agile. But the number one thing for us is how do we instill this digital agility in our people, because the people are going to be the accelerators, not the tech.
Excellent point. Really excellent point, Jim. And I reinforce with my teams throughout. Technology is here to enable the business, right? Yeah. If you think anything else, you're kind of missing the point, right? Technology is the enabler. It's the people, it's everything around that. So, Rusty, why don't you finish us off here, close off on the point, and we'll hand it back to Hunter after you.
Yeah, I'd echo both the colleagues here. Well said. I think this is clearly here to stay. I think, again, from our vantage point, I think one of the things that matters most is clarity in what it is we're trying to achieve. And when we're confronted with, dire circumstances, it's been encouraging to see how the organization's been able to rally around whatever it is, what very clear mission statement and purpose. And unfortunately, prior to that, I would say our organization, had an opportunity to improve the clarity about what it is we were trying to achieve. We did a great job with the transaction. Now we're focused on, the next thing, and, our ability to kind of make sure that that is clearly understood by every associate and how their role can contribute to that. I'm really encouraged, about what we can continue to do. So that's relevant no matter what's going on, right? No matter what your use is, right, of the technology. But I think it's, really relevant for us.
Excellent point. Great to finish us off here, Rusty. So Jim, Rusty, and Bruce, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate all the candor, the feedback here, and look forward to our next conversation. Hunter, right back to you.
Ali, great job. And Rusty, Jim, Bruce, awesome. Really appreciate your active engagement. And guys, everyone will get a copy of my new book, A Future State Enterprise 2025, as well, starting book 7. If you're interested in being interviewed, raise your hand and we'll reach out. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good, Hunter. Thanks so much.
Great to see you. And you won't want to miss this next one, the Innovation Accelerator, an inside look at cool new tech and what's hot and what's not. And this is a relatively new piece, add-on for the HMG Summit model. And I wanted to we have 4 really cool companies, all from Silicon Valley, 4 companies you probably wouldn't have come across unless you were connected with HMG and this, the unique HMG platform and Summit model. I want to bring Glenn Chisholm, who's a co-founder and CEO of Obsidian Security, out first. Hey, Glenn, welcome to the program.
Hey, Hunter, thanks for having us. Much appreciated.
Great. It's kind of like the format we agreed to, a couple of minutes, right? When you think of the enterprise right now and this incredibly steep innovation cycle we're in right now, at Obsidian, you saw a problem within the technology stack and a trend and a demand, and you went out and solved it, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, a couple of years ago, we were, the co-founders were all working on endpoint security. We were working on trying to secure endpoints against attacks. And we really thought, SaaS is this next place where there's this proliferation of data, there's this proliferation of information, there's this incredible business agility that's provided by SaaS providers into companies, and security tools need to provide the same agility, the same flexibility, and the same response. So basically, we worked on, using the power of SaaS to defend SaaS and putting that on the table for people to help secure their SaaS environments with us.
Excellent. And how's the progress? How's it going?
It's going well. We've got a good set of great customers. We're working with some fantastic partners like Snowflake and CrowdStrike and others. And, we're building out the company, and, I think, with the acceleration of SaaS and cloud adoption from COVID, it's kept us busy and kept us focused.
So Glenn, how does it do it? Walk us through just briefly, how do you secure that layer?
Yeah, look, we used to run applications on premise. When we ran them on premise, we're worried about the devices they were running on. We're worried about their perimeter. The good news is the SaaS providers take all that off our books. They've got fantastic, security around the perimeters for the application. But what you have to worry about is your configurations, your users, and what they do and how they interact with your data. So our focus is on those core things. Who's in your applications? What are they doing? How are they using them? And how are they interacting with your data? So it's using SaaS, that same SaaS experience, quick time to value, quick time to operation, reach into those applications, don't distribute your data any further, but focus on who's doing what in your environment, looking to make sure that you don't get breached, you don't have insiders maliciously accessing your data, you don't suffer data leakage, and you configure and manage those applications in the appropriate way on a continuous basis.
Well, that's fascinating. Look, you're a part of the HMG marketplace. Thank you very much for being there. Folks, you literally can go to the HMG marketplace and learn more about Obsidian and request a meeting.
We're proud to be part of the marketplace, and we love working with you guys. We love working with your team.
Great. Thanks, Glenn. Stay with us. We'll circle back to you if you have a few minutes. Next up, we have Rudy Araujo, VP of Marketing at Awake Security. Rudy, welcome to the program.
Happy to be here, Hunter. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. What was the trend? What was the issue in the enterprise architecture that you saw an issue and Awake addresses?
Yeah, so kind of like Glenn was alluding to, right? I mean, IT environments as we know it are changing right in front of us. And this was happening even before COVID hit, right? If you think about how varied the IT environment is today, when we get into customers, we find that on average, their security teams, their IT teams are only managing about 40 to 50% of what's actually on the network. Once you throw in IoT, you throw in cloud-based infrastructure, shadow IT, and so on. So what we're really trying to do is give you visibility to all of that, just so you know it exists and you know how those systems interconnect with each other. But then B, help you manage the security risks associated with those entities, if you will.
Excellent. And you have wide industry application, client logos.
Yeah. We've been selling, for a couple of years now, and we've got, customers all across, primarily United States focused, but across a number of different verticals. Certainly customers that have accelerated that digital transformation are seeing a lot of benefit because, again, just getting a sense for what do you have is foundational, right? I mean, they always say you can't protect what you don't even know exists. And so we've had a lot of customer success in manufacturing, retail, financial services, folks like that.
And is there some public news that's out there for you guys? Did I see something come across the wire?
Just a little bit, yeah. We were acquired this week by Arista Networks. The acquisition is still closing, so it's not a done deal yet. But yes, Arista did announce that they would be acquiring Awake, and we're excited to be there. It's a very kind of better together story. Arista has spent a lot of time focusing on creating a secure fabric for the network to operate, right? And by adding the monitoring and the risk management that Awake brings to the table, it allows us to have just a much more compelling story, especially as these roles start to meld, right? I mean, network ops, security ops, IT ops are not these separate silos anymore.
So let me ask you, what's next? I mean, how long does it take for the deal to close? 3 to 6 months?
Actually, probably a lot quicker. I mean, we expect it to close in the next month or so. We're already deep in discussions with, on how do we both integrate the products, but also integrate, our ability to service customers, right? Arista has a very big customer pool, and they see the value that security can bring to them, both from a product perspective, but also our services, because we also do incident response services. We do, managed network detection response and so on.
Awesome. Hey, great news, great update. By the way, Awake's a partner of HMG's, and they are in the marketplace. You can go to the HMG marketplace, learn more, see a video or two, as well as request a meeting, please. And both Obsidian and Awake with Glenn and Rudy, really appreciate that if you'd follow through there, folks. Next up, we have Nikhil Gupta. Nikhil, welcome to the program. You there?
Hey, Hunter. Thanks for having me.
Hey, look, you're always up to something new and interesting. You've had several exits. I know that. Tell us a little bit about ArmorCode. What's the problem in the enterprise that you're taking care of?
Yeah. So as you know, like the software is eating the world. Everybody's talking about digital transformation. That's the whole new big thing is there. But we believe that the software needs to be secure much better. Like 20 plus years ago, when I was at Bell Labs, we used to have one release a year. So 9 months we'll develop the software, and security will have 3 months to test it out. But now fast forward 20 years, now you have like several releases a day, right? And how do you secure that? And I've seen like in my career, there's a severe gap in the application security. So at ArmorCode, we are making application security easy.
Awesome. And how do you do it?
Yeah, so again, we are still in a stealth mode here. We just launched like 3 months ago, not launched. We started 3 months ago in midst of the COVID, but I'll share at the higher level, like I'll steal Susan's word in the last session here. Like we do manage, monitor, and measure, right? So as Rudy also mentioned that, like while they're looking at the infrastructure side, you can't secure what you can't see. Same problem we see in the application world. There are just so many applications out there. You have no idea where they exist, what their structure is like, right? So that's, as I said, like I'll, still manage, monitor, and measure.
Excellent. Great. I'll circle back to you here in just a minute. Next up, we have Snehal Antani. Snehal is the co-founder and CEO of Horizon 3 AI. Snehal, great to see you.
Hey, Hunter. Great to catch you. Good to talk to you again.
Let's give us a little update. What does Horizon 3 do? What's unique about the space that you cover, and what kind of solution do you draw?
Yeah, so let me start with, I'm coming from the perspective of, I've been a CIO, I've been in the shoes of many of folks on the call, and we go back and forth, we go back to our, my days of being a CIO at GE Capital. And the struggle I had as a CIO is that attackers knew more about my environment than I did. And that attackers weren't logging or hacking in through these 0 days like you see in the movies. They were logging in with valid credentials and maneuvering in my environment. And so my frustration is, how can they know more about my environment than I do? And I need to understand the world through that attacker's perspective. If you fast forward to this tour of national service I did on the military side, I got a really deep understanding of, in any military planning, you've got the team doing the plans, but they'll have a red team look at those plans through the eyes of the bad guy or through the eyes of the adversary to help identify blind spots and weaknesses. And so my thesis is, if I can provide that attacker's perspective, you can understand your blind spots, you can create a bias for action to fix problems that actually matter, and you can exercise your controls and improve your effectiveness to your board, to your regulators, and to your bosses with the purses. And that's kind of the thesis, and we've come up with this idea of continuous automated red team operations to give you that attacker's perspective as a service.
Wow, pretty impressive. So you're out of stealth.
Yeah, so we've moved really quickly. I mean, we came up with the concept in July of last year. I went to the HMG network and other friends I had in the CIO community and said, hey, look, here's the problem I'm trying to go solve. Is it valuable? And the resounding feedback was that as CIOs, we are tools rich. We buy products, all sorts of defensive products. We are logging everything, but we are capabilities poor. If you can help us prioritize our actions and fix what actually matters, this is going to be valuable. So that was July, August of last year. We raised money, we formed the company, we hired the team. We launched our alpha product in April, our beta product in June, and we do our big product launch actually on Monday. And so in less than a year of legally forming the company, we've got product out the door. We've got a bunch of alphas and betas across financial services, healthcare, retail, and elsewhere. And on Monday morning, hopefully we should see this in the HMG marketplace with your ability to do self-service pen tests against your environment.
Oh, wow. So what's that offer?
So effectively, one of the challenges we have, especially in COVID, is we, by regulation, when I was in financial services, we have to run a pen test in order to meet regulatory requirements. And that pen test was usually a bunch of consulting dollars that you had to go off and spend. Well, win-win for us is because we're able to use AI to run these internal and external pen tests, we'll provide those pen tests for free as a trial or POC right now. And if you've got that financial requirement to go run a pen test in your organization, use ours for free, free up that money so you can use it to spend, either buying us as a product or at least redirecting it towards other aspects of the business. So right now, go off, get immediate value, let our results do the talking, and then we can have a follow-on conversation.
Excellent. Great stuff. Hey, I'll circle back to you in a minute there, Snehal. Stay with me. Hey, Glenn, when you think about your Obsidian, when you think of the company and you think about your leadership style in this time of the pandemic, what's uniquely different today for you in your go-to-market and how you get in front of a community like the HMG community or any prospect for that matter?
I mean, I think it's crucially important to be able to communicate in a very effective way with your prospects and talk to people about the problems that they have. Obviously, the traditional method of sitting down with people, that's gone. The progression of sitting down in a meeting and maybe having dinner, it's not really a viable option. We all understand that. So I think it's the, hey, let us explain what we're doing. Let us explain why we add value, and then still connect with people on a one-on-one basis. So these sort of small, tight-knit communities like the HMG community are core to that. They have a common mission, they have a common thought process, they have a common set of goals. We can come in, we can have that conversation and say, look, here are the things that we're focused on. If these things are worrying you, then let us engage with you and let us help with those problems.
So again, how do people get started with you? Kind of set up a meeting. What does the first meeting look like? What's a 30-day pilot look like?
With us, it's very much sit down, talk to us, discuss the issues. We can get you up and running with a pilot. Most people, we can actually be up and effective within an hour. So this is not, you have to roll you out across multiple environments and take days or weeks or months. This is, we get you up and running in an hour. We get you value within a day. And then over that month period, we're checking in with you, making sure that your security goals have been achieved, and we're actually making a real difference inside your organization.
Hey, I love this. Okay, so this is a message to the HMG community network. We have some 80 folks on the Zoom right now. Let's all reach out into the HMG marketplace and let's set up a meeting with Obsidian and with Glenn and Glenn's team. I love it, the idea of a kind of free trial, right? And get things started.
Absolutely. We're there to help.
Excellent. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate your coming on the program. And we're going to be doing a lot of these at various summits, including a standalone national, global, if you will, Innovation Accelerator, a series of those over the next months. Hopefully you'll be able to be part of it.
Love to work with you.
Great. Thanks. Rudy, you're up next. Same idea. How do people get started with you? What does a free trial look like? How quickly does how quickly can you get the first instance up and start receiving value?
Yeah, kind of a very similar experience. I mean, essentially all we need is access to some kind of network data. We have a lot of customers that'll say, hey, can you drop a sensor in our AWS infrastructure and show us what's going on there? Much like kind of Glenn described, we're up and running in a matter of a couple of hours. And that visibility is really the first set of value, right? Even if you're not compromised, just knowing what is happening, what is going on, who are the users logging into these systems, et cetera. That's the value that you start seeing within a couple of hours from then. And then, of course, if you are breached or if there's an active threat in your environment, that's the next thing. I mean, no one wants to find out that they've been breached, but clearly if you are, you want to know about it, right? So it's very quick, and we typically do run these as like 4-week evaluations, and we give you a number of reports along the way, and customers have liked that kind of experience because it helps them transition to becoming customers a lot easier as well.
Excellent. And so people can reach out into the HMG marketplace. How about yourself? Can they reach out to you on LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Rudolph Araujo at LinkedIn, and Rudolph at awakesecurity.com. Or the HMG marketplace has been a great source for us to connect with people that kind of share this common mission.
Excellent. Hey, thanks again for coming on the program. Really appreciate it.
You bet.
Nikhil, back to you. When you think about being in stealth, what does that look like, and when do you think you're going to formally launch?
So, we are going to follow the same path that Snehal did. Like, we're going to alpha, beta, and then we'll do a launch. So we are planning to do alpha by end of this year, beta Q1, and kind of launch the product. And the main idea over here is to, focus on time to value, as, Glenn and Rudy mentioned, that whatever we are building, it should be simple, like within 30 minutes to an hour, one should be able to see time to value. And so that's the plan and the strategy. Yeah.
In your view, you've been at this 30 years, Nikhil, hard to believe, right? When did the freemium model become popular and the speed to scale become popular?
So, traditionally it used to be top-down sales, like where you go and talk to, the CIOs and they see the product, there's a need. But lately what has happened is that the whole go-to-market motion has been changing, right? So where, thanks to the internet, people are going, they can do a lot of research, and there are statistics which says that 60% of the research is done before even the IT executive who wants to buy the product and reaches out the company. And freemium is a great model. And in fact, it's also becoming more and more popular in the enterprise world as well, where, you can get a try and buy, if you will. And, from as a customer perspective, you don't feel like caught up or strangled into these 3 years, 5 years enterprise license agreements. You can, get a small piece. And this is a kind of the bottoms up go-to-market motion, which is becoming very popular and powerful.
Excellent, Nikhil. Thanks so much for coming on the program today, and hopefully you'll take part in future innovation accelerators.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Great to have you here. Hey, Snehal, back to you, my friend.
Yeah. So before I get into a little bit more on Horizon 3, I want to call out 2 things. The first is the power of the network. So for me, as a first-time entrepreneur, there were 2 separate issues I had to go deal with. The first was, is my idea any good? And being able to reach out through Hunter and the network to get fast feedback on the idea and shape the product was incredibly valuable. So for any aspiring entrepreneurs or multi-entrepreneurs, the value of the HMG network with, there's some folks on the call that are eager to be early adopters of tech, and there are others that aren't, and that's okay. But we're able to quickly figure that out and get that opinion. The second is, Nikhil's a bit understated, but Nikhil being a multi-time entrepreneur was critical to my success in thinking through how to form the company, how to bring the idea to market. So there's a different network that HMG is starting to bridge together, which is not only the CIO network, but as you get engaged with folks like Rudy and Glenn and Nikhil and others, you're bringing entrepreneurs together too. And now you're starting to be the glue that binds two completely separate and siloed groups of folks. And I think that's a 1 + 1 is 3 scenario, because nobody really does it as effectively or at scale. So Hunter, I want to just call that out for others on the call. Because once again, for the folks on the call, I lived in Chicago for a bit as a CIO. I've been in your shoes. Now I'm in the Valley starting a company. And there's a lot of chasms to cross, but that network helped narrow those chasms. So back to Horizon 3. You think about the problems to go solve, first off. I would go run Qualys or Nessus or any vulnerability scanner. And being vulnerable is not the same as being exploitable. Like, don't tell me I have 100,000 vulnerabilities. Tell me what 10 issues are actually usable by attackers to steal my data. The second problem I had with my CIO hat is I would go pay for consultants to come in and do a pen test, but we would have to keep the scope really small for cost and time. And what that provided was an incomplete snapshot that was almost instantly out of date. When we started using these breach attack tools, Veridin and others, they were cool, but they basically were test suites. And you would have to maintain these tests along with updating infrastructure, nobody of which had time to go do it. So what we tried to do is help you find what is actually exploitable, prioritize the problems you have based on you can lose your sensitive data, you can lose your business, we can disrupt your systems. So find what is actually exploitable, prioritize it by business impact, and get to 100% coverage of your organization and provide this continuous bias for action to fix problems that matter. That's really the problem we're trying to solve. And I welcome the feedback, especially for those at HMG that like to be in that early adopter category, because we're always looking for more partners. And once again, the network and your ability to bring these two different groups of folks together, I think is absolutely invaluable and an absolute competitive advantage for you as an organization.
Hey, thanks so much, Snehal. You've always been blowing me away. By the way, Snail's a little understated. CIO 3 times over, GE, IBM, CTO at Splunk, and did a really cool tour of duty with an acronym in the DoD, right? Snehal, interesting international wartime experience.
Yeah, solving problems that matter, taking a break from industry to serve. Hardest, most meaningful work of my career. And I grew as a leader more in the last 2.5 years working within the special operations community than I did in any other job I've held. So that's the other thing is how do you continuously invest and grow in yourself with the right experiences and the right people around you.
And did I see that? Do I have it right? 16 patents you own? You have?
Yep. 16 patents. Cool. It's odd talking about myself, but yeah, it's
great job.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey guys, this has been an amazing session. Glenn, Rudy, Nikhil, Snehal, awesome job. I'm getting chats and comments in the chat saying amazing job, great panel, real true thought leadership. I could see replicating in this at any one of our summits going forward for sure. If you guys are into it and up to it, I think it's a winner. I know it's a winner, as well as a standalone individual Innovation Accelerator monthly summit where we invite leaders in from all around the world, CIOs, CTOs, CISOs as well. Glenn, good to see you. Rudy, great to see you. Congratulations. Nikhil, also, always. Snehal, thanks so much for coming on the program. Great. What a great summit, folks.
Hunter.
Blown away with today's summit. The agenda was amazing. It's by IT leaders, for IT leaders, the no analyst zone, no analysts, no research analysts at all. So remember that. If you want to learn from your peers, come to HMG Strategy. And again, a big thanks to Rimini Street as well as Zylo. I thought both the presentations from Craig and Eric were amazing. And we're going to go to our final kind of closing program here, and it's August Palicchio. August, are you there on the Zoom broadcast today?
Hey, Hunter, how are you?
August's going to join us. August is out of New York City. He's the genius behind HMG's social media surgence over the past year or so. And as well as he co-leads with me the HMG Top Tech Leaders That Matter Award Recognition Program, which I'm thrilled and excited about, as we've elevated this to a global discussion, a global platform, getting your brand and influence and thought leadership out there on a global platform. Today's recognition program leading towards a global recognition program that'll be launched soon here in early 2021, looking at the end of the first quarter, March 2021, a global gala. So with that, August, I'll leave it to you to make the announcements and I'll recognition, and I'll jump in.
Thanks, Hunter. And thanks everybody for staying right till the end of the program here. I'm excited to recognize 3 great individuals from the Chicago area. First, I'd like to welcome Susan Malish back on the screen. Susan's the VP and CIO at Loyola University Chicago. Hi, Susan. Susan is being recognized in the courageous leadership category during this time of uncertainty for leading her university forward with pride, ensuring the safety of her staff and students. We commend Susan for continuing to make relevant technology available to students, no matter where they are. This access is an issue globally through the education sector in 2020. Susan's been a real champion of communication and collaboration, saying things like, how do you address demand management without a prioritization process and frequent conversations? So before we congratulate Susan, I think we have a little clip highlighting the team that backs her and makes all this innovation possible. What a great cast of smiling faces there. Congratulations, Susan.
Thank you so much. I really am overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I'm really part of a super talented team, leadership team at Loyola, and very grateful to be part of the SIM Chicago and HMG community that serves as a source of great ideas and inspiration for us. So thank you.
Susan, thanks again. So proud and happy to have you here. And we've been collaborating now, I think, going on 14 years that we mentioned earlier with Mark, Scott, and John. So really appreciate all your vision and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Congratulations again. I'd like to welcome Rusty Patel back onto the program now. If you're here, turn your video on and love to see you. Rusty is an SVP and CIO at Tenneco. We heard from him earlier this afternoon. Great job on your panel today. Excellent insights. Rusty comes from an impressive 25-year-plus background in business and technology leadership. Some interesting highlights during Tenneco's acquisition of Federal Mogul. Rusty led a successful IT-enabled integration and established operational separation within only 9 to 12 months. He's being recognized now for his outstanding business development during the COVID-19 crisis, including but not limited to his role in creating and deploying the drive.com website. That's DRIV. Really amazing stuff that you're doing, Rusty. We're really proud to have you here. Great job on the panel today, and congratulations.
Thanks so much. Great team. It's wonderful to be back in Chicago, and proud to be a part of the forum here. Thank you very much.
You know, hey, Rusty, great job. When I think of you, I think of, I think Mark, our mutual friend, Mark Polanski, that we share. And I think that was kind of, we met at a dinner several years ago before the summit. And your consistency and professionalism and follow through have blown me away over the years. And so thanks so much. You really make a difference in the HMG network and in my professional ascent. So I really appreciate all the active engagement and ascent. And I think, you know, people should know about you. You really are and were a world-class thought leader and management consultant years ago. And that kind of training obviously bodes you well.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rusty, and congratulations again. Next, I'd like to welcome John Phillips back onto the screen here. John's president and a CIO of Briggs Healthcare. John, if you could join us. Hey, John.
There we go.
A little background on John. He's being acknowledged for his tremendous impact with Briggs Healthcare and its transition into Briggs Home Care. John is helping bring Briggs into the home care industry by enabling more in-house assets, bringing down cost of operations, and able to raise employee salaries. John understands that when you employ caregivers, you essentially own the market, and has made recent strides to drastically increase the starting salary of some of his caregivers. He's been known in his personal life for charity and give back into medical research, and shows a really clear passion for his industry and his community. John, really amazing work you're doing. So proud of all the dedication you have for your industry. Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Hey, John, you know, you blew me away. We're talking about in the prep here in the green room before the summit. I remember when we first connected 14 years ago, and you heard, you know, over the phone then, right? You heard who we were and what we were about. And you said, Hunter, we're going to make this happen. We're going to do it together in Chicago, and we're going to launch. I remember in 08, we began planning. In 09, we were in the, I guess, the then Sears Tower, what the now Millennium Tower, or?
Was the Willis Tower? I forget what it is now.
Yeah, and it felt like at the beginning of the end as the markets became unraveled during the financial crisis. And I remember we had, I think, John Hinshaw there, who was at Boeing presenting. But it's been one heck of a great ride, and a really huge thank you and a tribute to you, because it gave me the courage to roll from Chicago to Dallas, from Dallas to Silicon Valley, to LA, back to Arizona, and to create a full grid across the North America of some 30 markets. So really appreciate it. And now the digital pivot seamlessly.
Absolutely. So 14 years ago, I've always been the type that looks forward, and I saw something within you that said this is going to be good for a long ride. And it has been. And it's been very rewarding for all the attendees that are on. And the participants today, they get to see the fruits of the labor of what we decided to take a chance on. So I've been proud to be part of you, your organization, and the Chicago IT community.
Great job, John. Good to see you.
Like many of the tech executives today, what John does wouldn't have been possible without a great team. And he submitted a little video for us to show just a couple smiling faces of some of his direct reports that help make his innovation possible. That's great. What a bright, smiling, engaged team you have there, John. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, another great summit, August. Good job on the recognition program and all of the social media and graphics. Thanks so much. And a big thanks again to our partners, Rimini Street, as well as Zylo, as well as Obsidian, Awake, Horizon 3, and Nikhil's new company, ArmorCode. Really appreciate everyone's active engagement. Stay in touch. You will receive a copy of John's, Rossman's book, a digital copy, as well as mine as well. Stay in touch, and we look forward to our next program. And a final shout out to Wayne for making it all happen from the Chicago Sim chapter. Really appreciate, Wayne, everything you've done. Take care now.